LP4 assignment for Michael Alcanter. This is the first time doing a slideshow and recording it, so we'll see how it goes. Basically, it's on controlling. The first part of the decision is decision making. Many organizations are faced with decisions on a daily basis, and they have standards in making that process for all their segments. One thing to look at is a lot of companies are in different regions, and we want to make sure all decisions are made in the same way, basically standardized, and that the processes go the same way for every part of the organization. Some organizations develop rules and procedures. This helps make sure that it's streamlined and they're all the same. A lot of companies, want to make sure everything's going the same way, whether that be if we're going to buy something or use purchase orders. We want to make sure they're done the same way. Decisions are ultimately a choice, how a decision is structured. So, in the end, we're making a choice. We want to make sure we have investigated and made sure we're using good reasons for the decision you make, and that it meets the overall goal of the company and the corporation. A lot of times things are done on the fly, and that isn't good for an organization. The next part is balanced scorecard. Basically, this is one of the leading ideas in today's environment. A scorecard looks at aspects of an organization and its health. So it breaks it down into four perspectives. So one is financial perspective, customer perspective, internal perspective, and learning and growth perspectives. And then each section has a set of metrics and goals that can be measured if they're met. The financial perspective basically is how the shareholders see the company, how well they're doing, if we're making a profit for the shareholders, and that's the overall goal of any organization, is to make a profit. The customer perspective is how are we doing? Are we making products they like, or are we just producing things that don't matter? We really want to look at this one and see where we're heading toward the future, and as long as we're making products that are valuable to our customers, so we can sustain that customer base. The next one is internal perspective, and basically that's how are we doing? What can we deliver? If we have a purchase order of 1,000 units and we can only produce 500, we really need to look at that and see how we can improve on that. Or then the other aspect, if we can make 500 and only producing 100, what can we do to make it so we can maintain and max out our equipment and production? And the last one is learning and growth. Basically, this goes hand in hand with all the other ones. How can we improve and make us valuable for our customers in the future? A lot of times companies get behind the ball on this. New things come out and they're not really used to them. Or the old Kodak example that everybody uses, with the film industry, they were really behind the ball. One could say Microsoft was sort of behind the ball when Android came out with their operating systems for the smartphone, and they're still trying to catch up in their smartphone segment. The other thing is we want to create a goal to meet the mission statement. We always want to stay in line with our mission statement and our core values. We don't want to go from where we are as a company and change ourselves too much. The next aspect is open book. First part, my research on this, I really came up with it's a good tagline. It's human nature to be competitive. Everybody wants to compete and be number one. Even with an organization, you have many employees that want to compete, and they're always striving to become on the top of things. If we don't manage people, if we won't want people to manage themselves, we need to make sure that they know what the organization's performance is. This is the other aspect. We want to make sure that we're letting our employees know how the company's doing. Which means the measures. We have a lot of measures in companies that aren't shared with employees oftentimes, and if we let them know where we're at, they can sort of work towards that and help meet those. Let's see here. We really want to be transparent, but professional. We want to make sure that we share information with the employees, like I said, on the financial statements, and not only that, but production goals, and if we're meeting those. We want to make sure the key indicators known, or KPIs, our measurement standards, our quality standards, and our total measurement. We want to know how we're doing on that. We want to let our employees know the language of business. Sometimes when CEOs speak or people speak, the lower level employees don't really understand what's going on, and they would want to know what is going on in the organization. It's in the best of everybody's interest to make sure everyone's on the same page and we're all working towards the same goal. We want our employees to start thinking like owners in this management style. We want them to have a piece of the pie, which goes hand in hand with the other part. They're going to be compensated oftentimes in profit sharing. So if a company makes a profit, the employee makes a profit. So it's really hand in hand, and it's good for overall for the company. There's a lot of businesses out there that do this. One is Hy-Vee. They do very, very well in the market. Your employees will work harder for you if they have some skin in the game, and it makes you have a sense of pride. People are more happy to come to work. A lot of companies are buying back stock now, which in turn will make the whole company be employee owned eventually. So if it's employee owned, they're going to care a lot more about it. Like I said, it's theirs. It's something they have. So there's always pride with something you have. Next slide is total quality management. This usually is a setup of a set of standards such as ISO 9001. Basically, it's a guideline for value or management. It works with companies' core values, and it rationalizes the approach for organizations to make decisions. It looks at ways to improve products that we already create and improve the production processes, which that is an everyday thing. We want to make sure we're doing the best we can, the most efficiency we can. It looks at customer satisfaction, and they want to have 0 defects. It takes a lot of management commitment to make sure that the total quality management is working. We want to eliminate waste and improve and have continuous improvement. So we're always tracking things that we can improve and trying to get rid of all the waste. I use this a lot when I work for Conagra Foods, daily, trying to get rid of waste. Every little thing we could recycle or use back in the production process that was done. One of the bad parts I found about total quality management is that it's expensive. It's really expensive to implement, and oftentimes people don't give it a long enough try to implement. The next part is budgetary participation or budgetary control. And this is making sure that performance and budgetary participation go hand in hand. So we want to make sure managers are looking at their budgets, and if they're meeting their benchmarks, to see how the manager's doing. Companies need to look at not only the narrow scope, but the broad scope as well. Data can be composed, but it's how we look at this that affects management performance. We want to plan for the future. The budgets need to be accepted by management. There needs to be consequences if they're going over budget. It's basically a constraint system. If we need a new table or a new piece of equipment for an assembly line, we want to make sure to budget that in. Obviously there's going to be emergency shutdown and stuff, but we need to budget that in also. Have an active budget. We want to look at the cost versus profit all the time and see if the benchmarks are being met by managers. Oftentimes there can be errors in the budget. One thing that I came across in the research was the gas increase back in the late 90s, when gas really went up. A lot of companies were caught off guard by this. Not only transportation costs went up, but the cost of all the goods that they use went up because it cost more to bring them to them. And the ironic part is now that gas prices are going down, a lot of those companies haven't decreased that transportation cost. It's a lot of times used to measure managers' performance. And then the last thing is variances need to be investigated. So if there's a variance, manager goes over, we need to know why, to make sure that it doesn't happen again, or what can we do to put in place to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Is there something we're missing in the long haul? The conclusion is there's a lot of ways to control organizations. Companies need to find the right option for their needs, and companies need to look towards the future. The big thing is we want to maintain the company's core values and mission statements. A lot of times this doesn't happen, and it's hard to do on a day-to-day basis, but if we have the whole organization going towards one mission to meet the core values, at least everybody's heading in the same direction. And that's very important for a lot of today's organizations. And then here are the references I came up with.